This is the More to Life Than Money podcast. Real people, real stories, real conversations about wealth and abundance with your host, J.W. Rayhans.
Welcome, everyone, back to the More to Life Than Money podcast. Today is really a special moment. In fact, at least for the history of our podcast, it's going to be the first time that we have two brothers as our guests. And what's going to be fun about this is, even though now they pursue the same mission, their path towards pursuing the same mission has been very, very different. And you're going to see that show up in their personalities. You'll probably see it show up in their stories. I mean, you've got Grant, who's with us, military career, Army, Ranger, battalion, disciplined, served our country in a big way, 6 tours, Iraq and Afghanistan, special ops. You have Jett, who's with us, fun, adventurous, skateboarder, music, band, musician, like eccentric and creative. And now these two guys come together, not just as brothers, but on a very important mission within hospitality of all things. And I got to tell you guys, it is just a lot of fun to have you with us here today. And so thank you. Thanks for being willing to just have a conversation in front of a few microphones, in front of a few cameras, and start to share pieces of your story with the world. Because I will share right up front, what you're building is incredible for a lot of different reasons. And we're going to get into what you're building and why you're building it. And I know our conversation will go way beyond the professional stuff, way beyond the business, because your personal lives are really what contributes to what you're building professionally. So with that, thank you. Thanks for being here.
It's awesome, man. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, JW.
Yeah. And I will share, it's been a joy as we've gotten to know each other. The more that we get to know one another, the more I just view you as friends, as guys that are just really trying to make a difference, make a positive impact. And you're doing it through a way that you care about tremendously. And so I want to start there, and I'm going to see where it takes us. But you have a collective business. Started as a barbershop. So Grant, you were able to start as a barbershop, fresh out of the military, and start to build something. But you were noticing it could become something greater than a barbershop, something more than a barbershop, which is now Founding Fathers Collective up in Prescott, Arizona.
Yeah.
So I guess let's start there. Why hospitality, and then why Founding Fathers?
So I left active duty in 2014, stayed in the National Guard. My background was, I was a hairdresser before I went in the military. So kind of had that underneath my belt. And then got out of the military, started the barbershop. And from there, really the focus was, how do I grow something unique with other people in order to create kind of an atmosphere that collects a lot of good people? And so most of us as individuals participate in our day-to-day lives at some capacity with these third spaces, right? Gyms, coffee shops, bars, restaurants, barbershops. And the focus for the whole collective was, well, how do we just pull all of that into one geographic location and provide a consistent, I guess, experience for individuals within our community? And then by doing that, you have a lot of people that are coming in periodically throughout their day or week for a multiple or a myriad of different reasons. So whether it's coffee in the morning and the barbershop and the gym or jiu-jitsu or a cigar or beer, cocktail, the focus really was to collect a lot of people within our community and put them into proximity with each other, and then double down on our core values, which are community, connection, and care. So there's a few others, but that was really the impetus of the whole concept was, well, how do you create a place that collects a lot of good people and really double down on like being a conduit for something that's productive within the cultural space of Prescott. But the goal now is to move it into other geographic locations.
That's right. Yeah. When you got something great like that, you want to multiply it and allow that to happen in other communities. And where you kept coming back to in that description is bringing people together in normal everyday things that they're probably doing anyway, but they get to do it in one place, one atmosphere. Yeah. And you're creating a unique atmosphere, but you're also creating an atmosphere that takes on the character of your community too. Yeah. So anybody that's visited Prescott, if they come into Founding Fathers, they're going to see the evidence of Prescott in Founding Fathers, but in just a really cool way. regardless of what their experience is or what they're going there for. But they realize this is a place to gather. This is a place to bring people together. So, Jett, here in a moment, I'm going to ask you why you decided to like join into this mission. Before we get to that, Grant, I want to ask you, why do you feel that's important? Like, why is it important to you to have a place that brings people together within a certain atmosphere, for that sense of connection, for that sense of care, for that sense of community? Why is that even important?
I think where we're at as a nation state is it's just becoming so divisive. And I think the majority of people probably have a lot more in common with each other than what they think they do. And so the ability to kind of build the proverbial table and provide a platform or physical location where people can have those type of conversations and dialogue and build, reputations and rapport and relationships with other people within their communities. That's really where that's a huge benefit to any community, right? As a community grows, there's gonna be people you don't recognize anymore, or people you want to get to know. And so the ability to build a concept like this, which is 21,000 square feet, and provide a place where people can come in and frequent for a myriad of different reasons, either organic networking or just the ability to hang out and relax, or some type of grooming service, or taking care of themselves physically with the gym, cup of coffee, whatever it might be. It's just a great atmosphere to collect any and all types of people. Yeah. And then provide, a fun need that I think most people take advantage of throughout their day-to-day lives, throughout the week or throughout the months. Everybody's grooming or physically taking care of themselves, or coffee or beer. And so it's been a fun place to create, fun place to collect a lot of good people. Yeah. We have a great team, so that you can't do anything without a good team. So that's huge. So
yeah. Yeah. This is a moment in the conversation where I'm just going to remind everybody, I hope you're getting ready to take notes, because there's some of these things that you're sharing that are what we want to apply in our own lives. And you guys have been able to experience a great deal of success, and that success is continuing to grow. It has a lot to do with the fact that you're trying to continue to grow the impact that you're having, grow that into other communities. The reality is you're sharing something that goes beyond focusing on yourself, and it's really focused on others. Yep. And that's what I hope everybody's starting to catch on to, is there's an element of this that is contributing to your own personal success, is the fact that you are gathering people together, but you're gathering them in a very purposeful way. And so that they can build relationship, they can get to know one another in like a more comfortable setting, more casual setting, more community oriented setting. And like you mentioned, overcoming some divisiveness to find common ground and commonalities that we have together. And so thanks for just highlighting even the concept of what you're doing and why it's important. So Jett, this is where I'm going to turn over to you and go, you've had quite a path. I highlighted a couple things in the intro, went through that kind of quick, but the reality is you had a life-changing moment, first of all, where you were down a certain road, you were going down a certain road, you had a life-changing moment, and then you started to begin to realize you have some passion about some things that you really wanted to pursue instead. And it was almost like there was a moment of clarity that took place, that you're like, okay, now I'm going to go a different direction. And then you found this passion for helping business owners grow their businesses and helping leaders develop. And that kind of then led you into where you guys are today. So now I'm going to let you take over, share pieces of the story, what the path has looked like, but why in the world are you even involved in all this? Why join up with your brother and build this, founding fathers thing? And so give us the trek on that.
Yeah. I worked for family businesses my whole life, and I would stay with them for a long time and then get exited for the reason why you either hit your ceiling or the business folds or whatever happens. But I didn't want to work with Grant in a family business. He saw that I was getting passionate about business development and would continue to ask me to come manage the barbershop. And I don't work with family, man. It's nothing personal. Everyone I worked for, it's terrible. It's awful. And that's mostly because there's just not anybody who's willing to be held accountable on all the levels, kids and their parents and the aunts and the grandmas or whatever. No one wants to fire their mom or their sister. Or their brother. But, what I realized is that I had run business development through about 3 companies in a row in the span of about 7 or 8 years, and I kept hitting my lid. And once Grant kind of laid out how big the concept was going to be and all the stuff it touches, I was getting the idea that actually this is probably somebody I could work with because they're willing to get out of the way, which most business owners, they're drivers.
Yeah.
They'll take the risk, but then they don't know how to go from there.
Yeah.
And
sometimes they still want to control it all.
Yeah. And they want to control it all because they don't know how to duplicate. And so they don't know how to let control go or how to build control into someone else and create empowerment guidelines, things like that. And so I just saw the potential of, wow, I think I could actually really develop a business without somebody holding me back, which is what kept happening. So I went all in with the Founding Fathers Collective and started there.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. In fact, I want to share with everyone, there's going to be multiple different ways that you're going to find connection with Grant and Jett because in some cases, some of you are business owners. And so you're going to latch on to some of the business concepts. You're going to latch on to some of the things that they're doing. Some of you, you're also dads or parents, and you might latch on to some of the things that they do as dads and husbands. And you may latch on to just who they are as people. And so for any of you listening, I want you to know there's going to be moments in this conversation that you'll find connection to. And so I want to take it a little bit more personal at this point in the conversation just to see what bubbles up because you guys grew up in the same family. You're brothers. I have 2 brothers and a sister. And so you grow up with certain similar experiences, some different experiences. You interpret and view those things differently. And sometimes you have these moments where it's like, did we actually grow up in the same family? Like, what's going on here? How you end up so different? And so maybe just tell us a little bit about what did childhood look like? What led you to go, say, into the Army, into the military? What led you down the path of skateboarding and entertainment and music? So let's back up to that and walk everybody through what did childhood look like? And then what were those initial stages after childhood that set some direction for you?
Yeah. So our parents got divorced when I was about 5 or 6. I think, Jett, you were 2, maybe. And our mom raised us largely by herself. So she's a single mother in a wheelchair. She broke her neck before we were born in an inner tubing accident. And so for me, a phenomenal example of just resiliency of the human mind and just the human spirit and condition and taking what happened to you and not allowing that to maintain your identity, but recreating yourself. So she went back to school, has a couple degrees. She's won the U.S. Open wheelchair tennis a couple times. She's a counselor, written a book. I think she's trying to finish her second one right now. Nice. But just really a good example of an individual that took ownership of the situation that obviously happened to her and didn't allow that to identify her. And so when I ended up going to the military, I think I went in at 23. For me, it was largely, I just wanted that experience. One, to see what I was capable of doing, see if I always was enamored with kind of like that military, that drive of just the unknown, the ability to really tackle something that seems impossible at different levels that you're going to go through, what you're capable of doing, the ability to surround yourself with other super competent, capable men. I know there's women in the military, but I never worked with them. But the ability to kind of be in you could say a fraternity, really, that's what it is, of very high functioning, very intelligent, capable human beings, and then laser focused on whatever the mission might be in order to produce an outcome that you're all focused on. And then obviously through that experience, understanding or uncovering like what your own capabilities are in that type of experience. So it really focuses heavily on teamwork, development, failure, success, how to tackle missions, how to tackle goals. And then at, about 8 years in, that was kind of it. My wife and I had our oldest son, and we were having a second son on the way. And it was like, I've done enough. I've been there for enough deployments. And it was time to just get out. And I've always loved business. And so that's kind of like the focus was going to get out, find something else to do. and just grew up from there. And
Yeah.
so that was kind of I guess, the genesis of how I got started into the business side of things. So,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, thanks for taking a moment to kind of honor your mom and share a little bit about her life. And
yeah.
man, that's inspiring. And even just in the way you mentioned, yeah, she had these things that happened, if you will, to her in her life,
Mhm.
but she didn't let it define her life.
Yeah.
She allowed it to really still be an outstanding mother to you two, but be an example of what it's like to be resilient and overcome challenges and still like enjoy life along the way. So I just really appreciate the way that you did that.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a really good relationship with both our dads as well. So, stepmom. So, I mean, everybody's pretty cohesive. The whole family is, I guess, as we've all aged, matured,
Yeah.
relationships get repaired. And so that's been good to see that on that side. So,
Yeah. And I didn't mention it in your introduction, but at whatever level you're willing to, because I want people to understand the view and the perspective that you
Yep.
were mentioning in terms of your military service. And I thank you for your military service. I thank you for everybody that you served with and their families and the sacrifices and the decisions that go into all of that. And I also want to give an opportunity. Would you be willing to share what area of the military you served in?
Sure.
What that looked like? Because you were mentioning some key principles like with teamwork and deployments and things like that. I just want people to know what you mean by that and where you served.
Yeah. So, 2nd Ranger Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment. So special operations in the Army, operationally under JSOC, so Joint Special Operations Command, working in tandem with either SEAL Team 6 or Delta Force, or just doing our own thing overseas. So largely, primarily just working at nighttime, kill capture missions. And that was that's the breakdown of what the mission set is overseas for us. So find a bad guy, develop a target deck, and go out and execute with violence, whether it's a kill mission or a capture mission. So that's everything, I guess, as a young kid watching the movies like G.I. Joe's or anything like that. That was the opportunity, right? Jumping out of planes or helicopters or doing all the fun stuff. And it was exciting. So
yeah,
glad I had that experience. It molded me into who I was. So
yeah.
I am.
No, thank you for sharing some of that and really appreciate that. Because I know there's going to be some people are going to listen to this and go, man, Grant's a badass. Other people are going to look at that and go, I want to serve in that way too. And I think where it comes down to is there were clear missions. There were ways to protect the U.S. and you guys executed on that. And it took a lot of teamwork. It took trust in one another. And those are the principles that then can be applied in all these other areas, which I know we'll probably end up talking about even when it comes to businesses. When you're building teams, okay, how do you build a team that's going to trust one another, that's going to pursue the same mission, that's going to be there for one another, that's going to pursue at a high level, execute high performance. And so those are going to come back into our conversation, which is why I'm glad that you highlighted that aspect of even your military career and now how you've allowed that to influence and pour over into your business and into Founding Fathers. So I'm going to come back to some of those elements here in a minute. Jett, I want to come over to you now. And so when you think of like your childhood, influences it's had, how it's helped create who you are today, walk us through some of that. I want to hear a little bit about your journey too. And I know that there's going to be other people. By the way, I have a brother that I know is going to listen to this and he's go, I just want to hear about the skateboarding. Yeah. Just tell me about the skateboarding. Cause he's a skateboarder, snowboarder. I always reference him as he was like the cool brother. He was the taller, more handsome brother. He was the fun brother. He was adventurous. And so even as I've gotten to know you, I'm like, man, I see so many elements of my brother Preston in you. So at whatever level you want to share with us, what was childhood like? How did it help build who you are?
Just shout out to you, Preston. This is for you.
That's right.
Yeah, the good looking brothers.
He was younger than me too, or still is.
I was gonna say the younger. I think one thing to add a little bit more color to what Grant said is that we were basically raised in Prescott, Arizona, on the outskirts of the town in a nice little community neighborhood, mostly filled with elderly people, but backed up to the national forest. Oh. And with our mom being, us being raised by our mom in a wheelchair, there was a spirit that I don't know if we were born with or it's just developed through circumstance, but we basically, this is we didn't have cable. Yeah. We had VHSs. Our mom liked to watch musicals. Yeah. And so that's what we had on deck. Yeah. So kind of bizarro, what you're putting into kids like that. But we did a lot of like just straight adventurism. We would chase javelinas with hockey sticks. We'd go make forts out in the forest. We would go to the Prescott Valley swap meet, and they would sell us crossbows and ninja stars. And when Grant went in the military, I wasn't surprised at all, because he was the one who was like, hey, for your birthday, you get boxing gloves. And then for my birthday, I'll get boxing gloves, or you get this ghillie suit and I'll get this ninja suit, and then we can trade. And like, I didn't really have an opinion in the matter. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds cool. Sure, I'll get ninja stars. Like, never really exploring what I was into. That's my older brother, and that's what we did. And there was just, where our life was filled with stuff that, we probably should have died, or forts, Grant fell out of a tree, like just crazy stuff. And like,
you're making every mom listen to this extremely nervous about what her boys might be doing when she's not looking.
Yeah, climbing juniper trees 30 feet up, like, Mom, look, I'm sticking my head out, and she's in a wheelchair on the deck, like, that's cool, see if you can climb down. Like, I don't know how you got up there, like, no tools in the house, no father figure. So like, found a hammer, found nails, found pieces of wood at the construction site, took it over to our house, put one nail through a piece of wood, and then started walking up the tree with it, like forts that way. And so I think what's important about mentioning that upbringing is that it built a sense of risk in us. We were willing to take risks without being afraid of failure or afraid of not making it. There was one time where we almost all died from frostbite. Yeah. In a snowstorm, me and my sister and my brother. And when you're a kid, it wasn't even as scary as like the adults were the ones like, do you know how dangerous that was? We're like, yeah, we're really cold. You know? And so I think that carved out in our sister too. None of us are really afraid of taking risks. We're all kind of powerhouses in a way where we'll just go in and get the job done and do stuff. And so growing up like that was great. We had a dad in California. We'd go visit him in the summers. And then I found that I have a huge liking towards grass, like green grass, which we don't have up in the mountains. And I played a lot of soccer. So I was like, this place sucks. There's no grass anywhere. I'm playing on like rocks, not dirt, like rocks. Yeah. And so I always wanted to go out to California. And what kind of all started it was one day I was playing sports, and then I just left and I went skateboarding. And I was like, I don't have a coach telling me what to do. I don't have anybody relying on me for anything. I have full creative expression. I can skate like the world is my playground. I could skate this, I could skate that, I could skate that. And I wasn't really having a great time with team sports. I always excelled. Like, we're both athletic. We both excelled at whatever sports we ever want to do, but had a bad sub coach, and it wasn't that fun for me anymore. And then once I started skating, I was like, I don't have to deal with any of this. I don't have to be here on time. I don't have anywhere to be on time. I can go do what I want.
Complete freedom.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then once I got into that in Prescott, it was in like 7th or 8th grade. Then I was determined to move out with my dad in California, where everything was a sidewalk and paved, and the handrails were low, and you could actually skate them, not just land in dirt. And so I moved out to California in high school, and then just started skating out there.
Yeah.
And then had a lot of friends. Really, like some of my best friends are all went pro.
Yeah. And
so then was totally in that world, and then was trying to go pro myself, and then got to meet all the people in the Tony Hawk Pro Skater game. Like, a couple of them are even friends, and so I really got to experience like the high thrill, the high honor of a lifetime of like hanging out with your heroes. I hung out with them all the time. My friends rode for their companies, really integrated into the whole scene, friends with the senior editor of Thrasher magazine, the filmers, just, and one of the great things about skateboarding one of the subcultures is that it's anti-establishment. So that's what gave me my anti-establishment bent culturally. But like one of the cool things about it is you're surrounded by some of the most creative people on the planet.
Right.
The team that my friends all rode for, the guy who created it had just won a global art award that his friend put him in. So he just was like, I'm going to show up to France and bring my stuff and put it on the wall and see what happened. Then he won.
Yeah.
Skateboarders developed the fashion. They developed like, you know, the music was insane because back then you didn't need to get copyrights for music parts. So I really got my music taste from skateboarding, not from my parents, like eclectic music, hip hop to Bob Dylan and everything in between.
Yeah, there's a whole culture that surrounds it.
It's a very cool culture. And then it's very just cool. Like you're cool if you're a skateboarder and everyone knows that.
Right.
And because of it's independent and creative and you can wear whatever you want. There's no rules. It's there's risk involved. And so that was really cool.
Yeah, there's elements of it that a lot of people are attracted to. Whether they'll do it or not is another story. And that goes back to where you highlighted risk. And something that you both share is that element of being willing to take risk and just having, whether it's confidence or belief, to know that, hey, whatever we get into, we're going to find our ways through. We're going to find a way to be successful at it. We're going to find a way to navigate it. And really, in both of you sharing that path, what it's sharing with everybody that's listening is, my path doesn't have to be like someone else. My path can be what I determine is what I'm passionate about, what I'm skilled at, what I notice I love doing, what I enjoy doing, where I feel like I fit in. And each of you are expressing that in the ways that you went about doing it. And I think that's what's going to be inspiring to people that any of you that are listening is, no, both these guys have done really well and their paths look very different. I think that's what's going to be one of the key things that comes out of this conversation is, everybody can have their own recipe. And Jett, I even want to highlight something you mentioned is, you went to California and you were a part of where other people, a part of the same boarding culture were at. And that's an element of a recipe of success as well, is you're willing to go where that is. And even, Grant, like what you've talked about, you were in an environment, you were in a surrounding with other guys just like you that were pursuing the same type of thing, that had the same characteristic, that had similar passions and pursuits. And you were in that element. And it's like the elements we put ourselves in have to match up with who we are and what we believe in. And so I'm going to ask each of you an individual question that I think is going to lead us back into where Founding Fathers is and what the vision is for it. Because I do want people to see that, because there's something there that's much more, it's much greater than just Founding Fathers when they catch on to that vision. So that's why I'm going to come back to that. But Grant, I'd like to, if I can, come back to you. And I want to ask, with the military experience that you had, what do you hope people would see in the U.S. and appreciation of getting to be born or live here? Like what appreciations did you gain through that experience that you may not have had for the U.S. had you not had those experiences, whether it was Iraq, Afghanistan, any other deployments? Like what allowed you to appreciate more about the U.S. because of that? And would you be willing to share some so that maybe others can lean into some of that appreciation?
Yeah, great question. The rights afforded to us through the Constitution are pretty remarkable. So regardless where you fall at in any type of political bent, the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, it is amazing that these individuals created something, a document that transcends time and gives us all the freedom and latitude and autonomy to really pursue what it is that you want to pursue. Obviously with that comes responsibilities and duties. And I believe the older you get, the more you really are responsible and have a sense of duty to those you steward, your family, your friends, employees, if you have employees. So it's very important to understand ownership in your pursuit of driving towards some level of success, whatever that might be. And, there's not too many other places you can do that with such a level of autonomy as America. So yeah, I feel very blessed to obviously be born here in America and really have the freedom to just kind of do whatever you want to do. So like Jett was saying, I don't think we really grew up with any of our parents really putting us into a framework of like, this is what's expected of you. This is what's going to happen when you go to high school or after high school or college or anything of that nature. It was really just, you are capable of doing or tackling or accomplishing whatever you put your mind to. And so we kind of went about it in our roundabout ways in our 20s. And now we find ourselves in our late 30s and 40s, like reconnecting in order to grow something pretty epic. And that's where we're at right now with the businesses. Next goal is 50 of these across the country. So
that's right.
We haven't mapped out, we know what we're going to do, but once again, it's not necessarily a pursuit for the financial success, which, that will always come. It really is, what are we capable of doing? How can we grow something that's just epic and make an impact in the local, regional locations with a concept like the Collective? And, what are we capable of doing? We're not the same as we were yesterday as we will be today or tomorrow or the next day. So you always have to change. You have to adapt. You have to have the humility to understand you don't know it all. Yeah. And then you just go and find the right people that do, the right mentors, and allow them to guide you in that pursuit of whatever you're trying to build. And so having one foot in kind of control and one foot in chaos, I think is largely where that's where that world kind of meets with the ability to just create something super unique. It's always chaos and always trying to figure out how do you have order in that as well.
Did all of you catch that? Write that down. 1 foot in chaos, 1 foot in control, and you're constantly kind of dancing that dance with both feet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. That's life.
It is.
And it's also business.
No sense of this whole idea of like balance in life. I don't think it exists. Especially if you're in some level of entrepreneurship or business, it's always chaotic and you're trying to put fires out and figure out how to do it more efficiently and effectively and with less people and less money and move the needle forward and do something epic. So
that's right. What resources do you have and how do you use them? Somebody explained it to me this way. I wish I could remember who it was because I'd give them credit for it. But this whole life balance sort of concept, they said, look, life isn't designed to be in balance. Yeah. It's more of a rhythm. Like, what's the rhythm of life that you give it? And that's always connected with me in terms of the pursuit of whether it's chaos, control, things that come up, is how you lead in that rhythm of your life. Yeah. Thanks for highlighting that.
Absolutely.
So Jett, I'm going to come back over to you. All the things that you've had the opportunity to do, what you just described. If someone was sitting across from you, let's say you got to serve as a mentor for someone, which I know you've done a number of different times. But let's say it's a younger person. They're sitting there. They're going, man, I want to do the same thing. Like I want to skateboard. I want to do music, and I want to play in bands. But I want to get to where you're at, man. Like I want to live the life you're living now, and I want to be a part of big things. And they're looking at you, and they go, "What'd you learn?" How would you sum that up for them in terms of what have you learned through pursuing life that way that you would then share with them and go, Here's what I want you to know now.
I think one of the biggest takeaways for me in the last couple of years of my life is how people can manifest and it can really happen. And when you start getting into alignment with your goals and what so purpose is the attainment of your potential. Mm-hmm. That's the definition.
Did you guys write that down?
Yep.
So say that one more time. I want everybody to catch that.
The definition of purpose is the attainment of your potential. Mm-hmm. And all you've got to figure out is what is your potential? And your potential is in alignment with what are you passionate about? What do you want to do? And once you realize that if you can start getting those things in order through all sorts of tools that are all out there, like people have dream boards and this and that and personal, professional, financial goals and these other things, there's all sorts of ways to attack it. But if you can start nailing down what it is you actually want to be intentional about and pursue, then you can actually manifest that and bring it to real life. And there's almost, especially in this country, there's not a lot that you can't actually just build and create and go crush. So there's a lot of opportunity, and that was a big takeaway for me. It's like, wow, you can just think it, dream it, and if you're willing to have the clarity, build the clarity, and then the discipline to execute, then you can actually just like have like the things that you're dreaming about.
Yeah. I'm going to stay on that for a moment because I'm envisioning the person listening that's like, oh that's great, Jett, but my life's a mess, man. Like you have no idea what kind of stuff I've done. And so I'm going to ask it this way. And Grant, I'm going to come back to you and ask you this one too, to see what comes up. Because let's say someone listening is in that moment of disbelief and they're like, that's great. I hear you. I can manifest whatever I want, but they're kind of that, they don't believe that that's true. Okay. So what would you share with them to go, look, I've had a moment in life where my life was messed up too, man. And believe me, if I can get through that, I believe you can get through whatever it is that you're going through right now. So what was a moment in your life where you're like, this is challenging. This could throw me off the rails. This could completely wipe out any direction that I wanted to go in. Have you ever had a moment like that where you're like, okay, this could have been the end of where I really wanted to go or what my potential was?
I mean, my mom always says that I have a dual, like a superpower that can be used either way. It's I can be stubborn as a mule, or I can have sheer dogged determination. And so for me, it's like a superpower. Like it's never really fazed me. When I get knocked down, I'll just get up for the sake of getting up, and it doesn't really bother me. There was one time where, I was trying to be a pro skateboarder, and me and my friend were on flow for the team, which is you get free stuff, but you're not paid yet.
Okay.
And we have other friends, our other best friends are amateurs and pros. They're all riding for the same company. And so one of our friend gets promoted. And so then me and my friend are like, oh, who's going to pick next? It's going to be me or you. And we're like over here for months, just like joking about it as we're out taking photos and filming and all this stuff. And then they picked somebody that we never met from Phoenix. And we're like, who's this kid? And then, and I skated with him the first day, and we're skating this handrail, and he did 5 tricks in 5 tries, got the photo, didn't fall, didn't bail. And I was like, it just hit me. I was like, there's no way I can exist in this world. This is the future of where skateboarding's going. And like my dreams of being pro just shattered. But it maybe it like a little bit hurt in the time, but it wasn't like shattering for me. It was just kind of like, okay, I'll do something else. And I had kind of something else going at that time. I'd been living with my friends who were all, pro and skateboarding, and all of us lived in Long Beach in like almost the same neighborhood. So we just skate from house to house and hang out when we weren't like actually going to shoot photos or do professional things. And I had just started playing music, and that was something I realized that I was like, there's no levels here. I think I just stopped thinking about levels of kind of like getting off of sports that got me into skateboarding.
Yeah.
Kind of then got me off of thinking about careers or trying to take an art form to a career.
Yeah.
And once I was able to let that go, it was fully liberating, and started traveling around the country, living out of my car just to see if I could make a living, survival living, busking, playing on the streets, showing up downtown somewhere, putting a suitcase out, my guitar case, playing music, and seeing if I could make money. And I did. And I went from town to town, and I'd always get enough money for food and enough money for gas. And I just keep going around and around, did that for a while. And so I don't really know if you got to believe in yourself first, I guess.
Yeah.
Something about that. I think that was kind of ingrained in us. We didn't really, our dad probably built that into us, the dreamer stage. It's like, you can dream, you can believe in yourself. I think our mom probably showed us that was possible. And so I don't think anybody in our family really struggled with a lot of self-doubt.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not a counselor, so like I don't know how I would coach somebody if I told them, because this is what will happen in the coaching world is you can't work with everybody. There are people who just won't show up.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do. Here's the thing. I was thinking about it on the drive down here. It's like the core thing is, I think that everybody, what kind of works is inspiring people, which has been a real core tenet of why I play music. It's never been for the money or the fame or anything like that. I'm good enough at it, but my main whole reason for doing it was like, at the end of the day, if I go play a show, the one thing that I want is just one. My metric was like, I just want to inspire one person.
Yeah.
I don't have to inspire them to be a musician or play the guitar or do what I'm doing. I just want to inspire them in some way.
Right. Yeah.
Whether it's the lyrics in the song that I picked or whatever it is, I want to inspire them somehow.
Yeah. You're not trying to inspire the outcome. You're just trying to inspire some light inside
Drive
them.
some inspiration in them. And I think that's where people really, I think that's what ultimately the human being needs is like, they need somebody or something to inspire them.
Yeah.
And I think the people that we look around and maybe feel are unproductive or this or that, or they don't have a life goal or a vision or no opportunities. I think if you could inspire them, that could give them the potential to.
Yeah. And if I could say something there, I'd just say, if someone like that is listening to this, just continue that search for that spark. I'll just say it that way. Continue the search for that spark of the inspiration that you're talking about. There's something else that you said that I want to highlight as well, because you said something to the effect of, as soon as I let go of pursuing the levels, it was liberating. And I think that is something to be reminded of, because sometimes we can end up in a pursuit where we're like trying to go at the next goal or get to the next level. You hear that in coaching a lot. You hear that in business development, personal development, professional development a lot. Get to the next level. What you shared there, though, is when I let go of the pursuit of the levels, it was liberating. And there's a lot of meaning behind that. In fact, I'm going to let that thought rest with any of you listening. Maybe even come back or give yourself a moment to really think about that. Of where are you trying to pursue levels and you're just not feeling liberated. In fact, you're probably feeling stressed and restricted, and it's hindering you from actually enjoying life to that next level or pursuing life to that next level. So let go of the levels and it's liberating. So I'm going to shift. And so Grant, I'm going to really see, is there anything like that's gone on in your life that you noticed a shift in yourself, or you noticed there was a moment where you were like, I don't know how this is going to turn out? Was there anything that's been super challenging?
Yeah, probably my entire military career. It was a constant reality of like feeling like you hit your Peter principle. And so the unit I was in, we have something called a release for standards. And unlike a lot of the other special operations units, kind of when you go into those units, you're locked in and there's not much you can do to get kicked out. In order to get kicked out of that unit, it has to be pretty egregious. And at that point, you're like kicked out of the entire military. For us, we have this release for standards policy. So men would go in at whatever their job might be. You're a medic, you're an infantry guy, you're a commo guy. And if you can't break through that level, then, hey, you were good for the first 3 years you were here, and you mess something up and it's a Monday and you're gone on Wednesday and you just get kicked out to the big army. And so you're constantly in this pursuit of like self-discovery, self-mastery, the fear of failure, being surrounded by a bunch of other individuals that are very motivated to achieve as well. And so you're all collectively lifting each other up. But that reality too of like, man, do I have what it takes to stay here, to be here? And so to kind of piggyback on what you guys said, it's not so much the pursuit of levels for achievement's sake. It's more, I know that if I want to be the best version of myself, like I have to put myself into an awkward situation in order to grow, to see what I'm capable of doing at the next level. Yeah. And so what does that mean from a business perspective? It's like, okay, well, if I have one employee, can I grow this business to have 3 employees, 5 employees, 25 employees? I think we're at 33 employees. What's the revenue targets? How do you implement the systems and processes and procedures needed to run something effectively and efficiently? So you're constantly looking at what do I need to do or change about myself in order to get to those levels? Who do I need to empower? How do I find the right people to replace the roles and responsibilities I'm currently doing in order to grow the organization? And so with all those levels, you're having to constantly force yourself out of a fixed mindset and be a proactive player within the story of life. And I think a lot of people tend to, you're either passive or you're proactive in life. And sadly, a lot of people just kind of find themselves restrained by their own limited capacity or understanding of what they're capable of doing as a human being.
Stay stuck in what's familiar.
Yeah. And it's a depressing place to live at. I don't think I've never been in that place in my life, just because I've constantly forced myself out of that. Like, what do I need to do in order to refine myself just a little bit more today, tomorrow, and when you're doing that constantly, you're constantly in a state of friction. Sometimes it's tumultuous. There's fear, but there's also that fun, exciting, engaging, like, possibilities.
It's like the fun of the unknown in that case.
And so that's where it kind of goes back to, like, 1 foot in chaos and 1 foot in order. You can't really see what's on beyond the hill if you don't actually start taking the steps to traverse up the hill to figure out what's over there.
Even what you can't even see.
And then you get to the other side and you realize, oh, there's a whole nother hill. And so you're like, okay, now I have to walk up that hill. And really, it's the pursuit of the journey through life to figure out self-discovery and mastery of one thing and two things and three things, whatever those tasks or responsibilities are, in order to really create, the life that you want to live for yourself.
Here in Arizona, we have, hiking is something we can do on a regular basis. There's plenty of different hikes all around. And it's kind of a great picture of what you're describing there, where, you look and kind of when you're at the base of the mountain, you see a peak. You're like, great, I'm just going to hike till I get to that peak. You get up to that peak and you realize, oh, shoot, there's another peak right over there. And then you look at it and you can decide, am I going to pursue that peak or I'm going to stay at the one that I'm at? And when you describe, putting yourself in an awkward position to see what you're capable of, I guess I want to throw that to all of you that are listening, is maybe give yourself the investment of some time to really think through, like, what other awkward positions can I put myself in to really see and prove to myself what I'm capable of. Jett, it even goes back to a little bit of what you were talking about earlier of, if we don't test those capabilities, we really don't know what the opportunity is for our potential. Right. And so where can I put myself in these positions where, maybe it is uncomfortable. Maybe I can't see what the outcome is going to be. Maybe I don't even know what the next steps are, but how can I use that as a way to understand, what am I capable of? Where are the other areas that I can still pursue that I didn't even realize were there? And so that's where I want to bring in the vision for Founding Fathers, because from one of the early conversations we had when we met to even where we are today, I feel like this vision keeps growing, and the understanding of the meaning behind it, of what its impact could be, continues to grow. And so I'm gonna shape this in a certain way in our conversation to include some other things that we ask literally of every guest that we have on our podcast, is this question of what's important about money to you, and how would you define wealth and abundance? So beyond the way that maybe other people would define any of those things or respond to those things, how would each of you guys? And what I think may happen is there may be an element of, like, the things that become important to you because of who you are as fathers, who you are as a husband, like some of that might come out, but I think there also might be some of this vision behind Founding Fathers that might come out. So in whatever way you guys want to navigate those two questions, I'm going to turn it over to both of you to say, what's important about money to you, and how in the world do you define wealth and abundance? So how do you guys want to take that on?
Great. Well, I want to revisit one thing.
Oh, please.
Talking about the last conversation, but I would invite the listeners and people, obviously, that are maybe watching or whatever, but you're really ultimately focused on challenging yourself. You're not competing against other people. Don't fall prey to that. I was thinking a couple of years ago, I went and hiked the Grand Canyon. I did a rim to rim to rim in a day, and I did 2 training hikes for it. And I was like, I'll be fine. And I was fine. That's 56 miles. It's a decent walk. And
decent.
Yeah. And then I'm talking to a buddy of mine who ran it, and he ran it in 6 hours and like 45 minutes. And so he's outside of his daily job, he's a professional runner, and he does these ultra marathons. And so it's like, ultimately, when I did that little, jaunt of land, I'm just competing against myself. And hey, I know this is going to be a feat. I'm going to force myself to do it. I did it with no real training. Some of that I could bring in my military background and the amount of time I had to walk and run. And so it helped. But it's not like I went into that thinking, okay, I need to compete against my buddy Chad who did this in 6 hours. It's like, no, I'm just competing against myself. I can go do it. It's something that's monumental. It's something I'll remember, probably for the rest of my life. But the application, what I'm saying is, you're always, if you don't try something, then you'll never know. And you need to try it on your own volition. And what am I going to gain out of doing this outside of I'm competing against Jett or JW or Joe Blow over there? It's like, no, I'm competing against myself to see if I'm capable of doing this.
Thank you for highlighting that. And actually, I think that's a really good message for people to hear is there's ways you can challenge yourself, and that is healthy.
Yep.
But as soon as you fall into comparison, it can get unhealthy really quick. And so use these ways to challenge yourself to then see what you're capable of. Yeah. Thank you for highlighting that.
So Jett, I'll let you know.
So what's important about money to you, and how would you define wealth and abundance?
The importance of money to me is just to demonstrate it for others. Other than that, to be candid, it has no relevance. There's like I was just thinking about, there's like a quote that says a bum drinks and wanders, a hobo works and wanders, and a tramp dreams and wanders. And I always resonated with the tramp. I was always like, I'd just like to ride freight trains around America, and I can make money playing music. Like, I'll downsize from a guitar to a fiddle, throw it on my back, and jump trains. That sounds great to me. But when you start, and with the anti-establishment underlying cultural narrative with the skateboarding, because when you're a kid, you're just trying to skate some stairs, and then you have an interaction with police officers, and you're in trouble for something that you think is fun. So right away, you're like, I don't like the authority or and so to me, growing up, I always thought everything was rigged. I thought the whole thing was a sham, a con, and I didn't want to participate in any of it. And I didn't start learning money discipline until I started leading people. And when you start leading people, you realize you can't tolerate anything you're not willing to do. You can't flex on anybody else. You can't inspire anybody else. If you're not good with money personally, how are you going to inspire somebody else when you're having financial discussions with them to help them out? So you can't lead without leading by example. And that's just a huge principle. So I didn't start taking money seriously until I started leading people.
Makes sense. Yeah. How would you define wealth and abundance then?
I would say being able to create time. If you can figure out how to create time, then you get to do whatever you want. And then reframing the work-life balance means, hey, I'm going to work. I've got to go on this business trip. Beautiful thing is that I own my own plane, and I get to bring my whole family with me. And it just turns out that the business trip is right next door to Disneyland. And so you bring your family with you to work instead of having no time for your family and you're always working. So to me, wealth and abundance looks like being able to create your own time and doing what you want to do and just being creative with it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah. Grant, how about you? What's important about money to you? And then how do you define wealth and abundance?
Money, you have to steward it, right? It's a tool. It's a vehicle to gain time and freedom. And it's a tool that you can utilize to make an impact in others' lives. So as leaders within any organization, especially within the business sector, your job is to figure out, how can I look for opportunities to constantly promote or incentivize or take care of those that I'm stewarding their future, right? They're underneath my leadership, our leadership, and we're responsible for their some level of their financial success, right? Or at least the ability for them to understand how to use their finances in order to get to the places they need to go. And by focusing on other people, it allows you then in turn to be successful yourself. So money's a great avenue for freedom, for flexibility. my main pursuit is not, amassing all this wealth. It really is just, how do I make an impact? Money will always follow. But the ability to make an impact, build something that's long-standing, that has an impact in community, impact with people, buy-in with your team, empowering your team in order to gain clarity on what they want to do. And then, of course, money will follow them in their pursuits. You look at a guy like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, and it's very easy to target them as like, who needs that amount of wealth or money? And I understand that argument, but at the same point, it's like, even those individuals who might have amassed, we'll take Elon Musk, right? He's worth now he's worth like 600 billion, something ridiculous. But the reality is there's thousands, tens of thousands of people underneath that dude that's worked for that guy that would not be in a financially secure position if they weren't attached to him to some level, right? They're going to obviously take responsibility for their own lives, but because he's grown something or multiple things that are just insane, and he's doing it with a team and he's empowered his team, he's got plenty of people underneath him that he's providing for, and they're all providing for each other, to where you have your engineers that are making 500,000 a year, $1 million a year, And so I think that's a good example of like the power of connectivity, the power of teamwork, the power of vision and focus, and like empowering a team to take ownership of what you're doing. Because at some point you need them to have the buy-in in order to grow something. You can't just do it by yourself. And so back to your second question, I think I mirror exactly what Jett says, right? Like the ability to just buy yourself the freedom in order to do what you want to do when you want to do it.
Yeah.
And not forget everybody else that helped you along the way, right? And then the goal too is you get to a certain point where it's incumbent on you to be responsible for helping other people along the way. I think most everybody I've come in contact with in the journey of business over the last 10 years, especially first generational wealth, and a lot of my mentors and individuals like that who've amassed their wealth, and some of them insane amount of wealth, within their own lifetime. They tend to be the most generous people because they're the ones that they understood what it took to get there.
Yeah.
And if they have the humility, they're willing to share how they got there. But most people are so focused internally on their own problems, their own issues, and they're not looking for opportunities to either help other people or grow. It's always kind of like that woe is me factor. And if they just kind of got out of their own way and picked a lane and a target and they started pursuing it, then people just start coming to your lives. And that's largely how we got to where we're at. It's like, we'll just keep trucking in this direction and keep doing the right thing. And then people that are way more experienced, or 4, 5, 6 levels up the ladder, they're able to help out. Like, you guys don't want to do that. That's I did that 20 years ago. It's a bad decision. It's like, great. I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah. Thank you.
So everything in business usually always comes down to obviously hard work and determination and clarity of vision and like how to execute it properly. But a huge part of that people tend to forget is like the relational currency that goes into like, how do I create what I want, and who am I doing it with? And then where are the people that can help identify and show me the roadmaps to get there probably a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And so that comes down to like, do you have the humility to listen to men and women that are up that ladder, a few more rungs that can help you out, and not just think you can bypass them like, I'm not going to do that. That's
right.
They probably know a thing or two if they
probably
worth
do
X amount of dollars.
That's right.
Or they've grown something to thousands of employees. And
they have some wisdom there that they can share and listen to, latch onto. Yeah. Each of you have mentioned these elements of time and freedom and helping others, generosity, sharing, relational connectivity, creative expression. I just want to thank you both for really just being a part of this, really sharing what your journey has been like, where it's at. I know, and I get the privilege of knowing that you've got a great vision for Founding Fathers that's going to go across multiple communities. Right now, that vision is for 50 communities. Who knows if it even starts to go beyond that? And I just want to thank you guys for being willing to pursue something like that, pursue something that has such greater meaning than yourselves, and really seeing, when that becomes 2,000 team members across 50 communities, where there's multiple people in those communities showing up, being in this atmosphere, sharing with one another, finding common ground, building relationships and rapport. you guys are putting in a lot of time, effort, resources in order to make that happen. And I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you for being willing to share a lot of that with us, even here today in this conversation. For any of you that are listening, if you connect to any parts of the stories from either Jett or Grant, please share those. And my hope is that you guys, one of the gifts that you'll experience from this is that multiple people are going to share this episode and they're going to connect into your story even beyond what you'll even know. And what would be really cool, and maybe I'm manifesting, I don't know, Jett, but man, I'm just looking at this and I'm thinking, how cool is it going to be when, 8.5 years from now, somebody walks up to you in, I don't know, I'm going to pick
Toledo,
Ohio, where there's a Founding Fathers collective and you guys are there, you're visiting with your team, and somebody walks up and they go, man, I just want you to know, I saw you guys on the More to Life Than Money podcast. I was listening in, and here's what I've built because of something that you shared. Here's what I pursued because of something that you shared. Here's what I took a look at of what I'm capable of. Here's where I put myself in an awkward position. Here's where I pursued a dream. Here's where I put myself out there and I took those risks. And here's what's happened in my life. My hope is you're going to get to hear some stories like that.
Yeah,
and know that it goes even way beyond that. So just thank you for all of you that are listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for paying attention. Thank you for taking action. And thanks for being a part of the More to Life Than Money podcast. Gentlemen, thank you. Really appreciate you being a part of this.
JW, thanks, man, for having us on.
Absolutely.
You're a great host, dude.
Thank you.
You bring the energy. It's great. It's
Thanks.
fantastic.
Thank you. All of you, come back and join us for the next one on the More to Life Than Money podcast.
Thank you for listening to the More to Life Than Money podcast with your host, JW Rayhans, financial advisor, jw@rayhansfinancial.com. Guests are not affiliated with or registered with Cetera Wealth Services, LLC. Any information provided by guests is in no way related to Cetera Wealth Services, LLC, or its registered representatives, unless otherwise noted as a representative of Cetera Wealth Services, LLC. The opinions contained in this material are those of the author and not a recommendation or solicitation to buy or sell investment products. This information is from sources believed to be reliable, but Cetera Wealth Services, LLC cannot guarantee or represent that it is accurate or complete. Securities offered through Cetera Wealth Services, LLC, doing insurance business in California as CFGAN Insurance Agency, LLC, California Insurance License Number 0644976, member FINRA/SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cetera Investment Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. California Insurance License Number 0M15552. The views depicted in this material are for informational purposes only and are not necessarily those of Cetera Wealth Services, LLC. They should not be considered specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Neither Cetera Wealth Services, LLC, nor any of its representatives may give legal or tax advice. 313 North Gilbert Road, Suite 200, Gilbert, Arizona 85234.